Hello, welcome back to Wine Reform. So today we are getting back to our affordable roots and we are trying canned wine. Now, canned wine is actually getting really popular in very recent years, but it's been around longer than most people realize. Canned wine actually started in the 1930s when canning was taking off. See, a lot of brewers were starting to put their beer in cans, and winemakers said, hey, that's kind of smart cost-wise. Why don't we try the same thing? They did. They tried the same thing. Some of the earliest canned wines are from Acampa Winery. It was their Acampa brand California Muscatel. And a lot of canned wines were, at least in those early stages, were around 20% alcohol. They were fortified, but they were still very unstable. And the wine spoiled. And don't worry, we're gonna find out why. Now, in the 40s and the 50s, winemakers tried it again. We began to see a lot of can wines that had a cone-shaped top. So it almost mimicked the shape of a wine vessel, but it was obviously still aluminum. But those didn't work out either. So yeah, cue the 60s, and canned wine was tried again. A couple notable canned wines from the 60s were the Ready Shot wine cooler from Denver, and the Swiss Mist light wine. And obviously those didn't work. Now in the 70s and the 80s, well, Americans had kind of given up on the idea of a canned wine. It was just not working. However, French and Italian winemakers weren't through with the idea. They started making canned wines, but for the British. Soon market shelves were lined with La Sonnelle and various reds, rosés, whites, and frizzantes. And so canned wines were reintroduced to the American market. In the 1980s, airlines even started serving their wines from a can. But it fell out of favor again. So remember how weeks ago when we talked about box wine, it was actually thanks to Australian winemakers that we had that alternative packaging? Well, it was the late 90s, and Australian winemakers once again pushed this form of alternative packaging, the canned wine. Greg Stokes of Ironbridge Cabernet Shiraz and Steve Barics of Barokes Wine joined forces, and they created Vinsafe technology to line the cans. Now, they spent 9 years on this. It took a long time to find something that would keep the wine and the can itself stable. So you're probably thinking, hey, what do you mean? What do you mean stable? Well, we know that wines are often fermented in stainless steel tanks. So why can't they just sit in aluminum with no issues? Well, stainless steel is an inert vessel, which means it's not going to react with the air or with whatever it's housing. Aluminum is not. So wine was reacting with the corrosive aluminum, and it would even eat away at the lining of those early lined can models. So that would degrade both the quality of the can and the wine over time, resulting in, well, weird flavors. But with the creation of Vinsafe, that wasn't an issue. So in 2004, Francis Ford Coppola introduced Sophia wines, which are those really adorable little canned wines that come with the straws. Oh, they're so cute. And from then on, canned wines were beginning to gain respect. It was around 2018 when a lot of the wine world started noticing that canned wines were here to stay. Now there are winemakers who are specifically known for their canned wines, but today we're going to try something a little different. Today we are trying Sterling Vineyards Cabernet Sauvignon. So the first time that I actually saw Sterling Vineyards canned wines was in one of my roommates in college. Had a lot of those in her fridge, and I don't know why I never explored them sooner, and I've never tried one before, so we're gonna try one now. Now, we've talked about Cabernet Sauvignon on this channel before, but let's just do a quick refresher, shall we? So Cabernet Sauvignon, it is the child of the Cabernet Franc and the Sauvignon Blanc. It is highly tannic and it is highly acidic, and it has a lot of black fruit flavors such as black currants and blackberries, as well as more herbaceous flavors such as green pepper or mint, and sometimes you can get some cool stuff happening with oak. So it needs a really warm climate to ripen properly, hence why it's so popular in California. And and it blends really well with several other reds. So if you're familiar with the Bordeaux blend, Cabernet Sauvignon is in there. Now, Cabernet Sauvignon is also extremely popular because it is so good with a nice steak dinner. Sterling Vineyards. It is in the Napa Valley, it is near Calistoga, and it is huge. They have a massive operation, and they get their grapes from a lot of vineyards in the area that they either own or have a partnership with. Now, I'm going to be mentioning a few of these particular vineyards, and I'll also mention the AVA that they're in. Now, AVA stands for American Viticultural Area, and that is how American winemakers distinguish sub-appellations or appellations. So the vineyards that Sterling Vineyards gets their grapes from are Diamond Mountain Ranch in the Diamond Mountain AVA, Bear Flats Estate Vineyard in the Calistoga AVA, Larson Ranch in the Calistoga AVA, Peterson Ranch in the Diamond Mountain AVA, Calistoga Ranch in Calistoga AVA, Sleeping Lady Vineyard in Uintville AVA, Yates Family Vineyard in Mount Veeder AVA, and Tamagni Ranch in Calistoga AVA. So that's a lot of vineyards. Sterling Vineyards has a range of wines from the high-end to the affordable. Obviously, we're on the affordable end. The more high-end wines will have on their bottle exactly which appellation they got their grapes from, so it will name the vineyards. But for the more affordable wines, they kind of just mention the overall area. This one is so affordable that it just says California. Now, this can is equal to half a bottle of wine. One full bottle of wine is 750 ml. This is 375 ml, so honestly, I still wouldn't even drink this whole thing right away. I would sip this slowly. Now, you're probably wondering, alright, if you tried a Cabernet Sauvignon before, and you've tried an alternative wine before, and we kind of already know canned wines work, why are you going to try it? Well, just like with the box wine, today I'm hoping to show that it's not the vessel that makes the wine, but the wine itself. I should probably mention how much I spent on this wine. One moment. So I went, once again, per usual, to my local liquor outlet, and I spent, for half a bottle of wine, $4.99 before tax. We are going to evaluate the wine. Alrighty, so as usual, the first thing we do when we evaluate a wine is we look at it. So I've got my handy dandy white sheet of paper. So it is a beautiful color. It has a nice medium intensity and it's pretty ruby. It looks like a young wine. And per usual, the clarity is absolutely gorgeous. In fact, I don't see any floating particulates in my wine at all. Which we know with the box wine, we did get some of that. So, could be that because it's a different maker, we're not having those issues, or it could be the vessel itself, we don't really know, more likely the maker, but like I said, medium intensity, a nice ruby color, and phenomenal clarity. Gorgeous. Now that we have evaluated the appearance of our wine, we're going to go ahead and evaluate the smell, or the nose. So I am getting out of this wine exactly what I expect from a Cabernet Sauvignon. I am getting blackcurrant, blackberry, green pepper, and I'm even getting mint. Yeah, mint. So that's 4 aromas that I'm getting out of this very affordable wine, and so I'm pretty pleased about that. The intensity of the nose, I would say it's medium. It wasn't so extremely pronounced that I could hold my glass here and get a blast of it, and I didn't have to stick my nose all the way in to smell it, which was nice. So I would say it has a medium intensity. It smells amazing. Oh God, I will never get over the smell of a good Cabernet Sauvignon. Now that we have evaluated the nose, now we're gonna go ahead and taste it. That's also known as evaluating the palate. So, let's see what we get. Cheers. Ooh. So that had very fruity, very fruity flavor. I was definitely getting the strong blackcurrant and strong blackberry, and very strong mint. The herbaceousness, that green pepper, really came last. So I'm kind of surprised at how this wine, this Cabernet Sauvignon, is leaning more on the sweeter side. It is dry. It is dry wine, but it is leaning more on the sweet side because of the pronounced fruitiness of it. So very pleasant. I'm assuming that the grapes were picked when they were very ripe. The alcohol's pretty high. Yep, the alcohol's pretty high. We're at 13.5% alcohol, so I can feel it. The finish, I would say the finish was short. I wasn't going to expect that flavor to linger for too terribly long because of what I paid for this, but it did have a short finish. And the tannins they were medium. They weren't so grippy that I could feel it sort of roughing up my tongue and my gums, but I did definitely feel the tannin. It wasn't unpleasant. It was quite nice. It was very drinkable. I would say that this Sterling Vineyards canned Cabernet Sauvignon is I'd say it's a pretty acceptable quality. I do think the average, the average consumer would probably appreciate this Cabernet Sauvignon quite a bit. I'd say it's a very approachable, very drinkable wine. As it should be. It's a canned wine, and canned wines are good for outdoor functions and gatherings and, small gatherings and, things that people do, and I think this wine really works for that. Honestly, I would pair this wine with barbecue. I think it would also work well with any old movie night. If you're having a movie night and you're eating popcorn and chips and pretzels, I think it would taste great with any of those snack foods, or any tailgate food or barbecue food. I would pair it with that. I think that it would work very well with food. Yeah, I kind of just want to go outside. I just want to drink this wine outside. That sounds perfect right now. I think that I would totally take this to a lake and I would enjoy it. That'd be great. Yeah. It tastes like summer. So thank you for joining me for this episode of Wine Reform. As always, if you liked what you saw, be sure to give me a thumbs up. It lets me know if I'm doing something right, and it also helps other people who might be interested in wine and need a way in. It lets them know that this is here, and boom, here's their in. So you're doing other people a favor too. If you really liked what you saw and you haven't done so already, hit subscribe. I release videos every Friday, and God forbid I miss a day, hit the bell icon. That will let you know when I release a video, and you don't have to go hunting for it or wonder if, is she ever gonna release a video again? Now you know. So as always, it's been a blast, and hey, let me know about a time that you got to have wine somewhere that you didn't think you could, and it was a lot more fun that way. So, yep. With that being said, I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.